Saturday, we're still discussing the situation of the man who was born crippled and who was raised up, a sign of the resurrection, in the temple. Now it's a portico of Solomon where they're having a discussion. And who's brought together? First of all, we find, remember, this is a courtroom. Court scenes change, but still we're taking witnesses and testimony to see whether Jesus rose from the dead or not. 40 days of this, proving that he's not a ghost, proving that this really took place. It's a historical fact. So now we have an interesting situation. In Saturday's reading in the Acts of the Apostles, the Jews, high priests and the official see, these are ordinary men. They're fishermen. They don't know what they're doing. And yet they're so outspoken. They're so assertive, aggressive even, with what they have to say about this man, Jesus. And so they dismiss them from the Sanhedrin. Now, the Sanhedrin are the 72 disciples of Moses. Remember, he prayed for God to give him some help to administer to the church of the Old Testament because it was too much for him. He's only one person. He said, let your spirit come upon these men. 70 were present and 2 were distant. They weren't at the assembly, but all 72 received the Spirit of God. So that's the Sanhedrin. And from that time, let's say 1,000 years later, it's still functioning. So it's the high priest is the head of the Supreme Court of the Jews, and the 72 disciples are the Sanhedrin. So they throw the apostles out of the Sanhedrin and they have a discussion. And what do they say? We cannot deny what happened. This man is walking. So we can't deny that. There's a piece of the truth. If the court has ever wanted to know the truth, there it is. This is the same group that wanted to put Jesus to death, an innocent man. The first court was the Roman court, and the judge, Pilate, says, I find nothing wrong with this man. He has done no crime. Why am I going to kill him? If he hadn't done any wrong, we wouldn't have brought him to you. That makes a lot of sense. If we didn't like the accusation, we would never have made it. We love the accusation because we're jealous. We want to get rid of this man. So they're using that circle because we say it's true, it's true. And of course, now we're into the second courtroom, the Sanhedrin, and the high priest is there, and the priest that took his place because he wasn't Roman enough for the Romans, Caiaphas, took the place of Annas because they didn't like Annas. He was too much of a Jew. So they put Caiaphas, who was much more pliable. So now he's there, and those who deny the resurrection, the Sadducees are there, and the Pharisees are there. So they're trying to have a discussion. So the solution is, well, we can't deny the fact. Let's just tell these silly apostles or these followers of Jesus, and listen to this. They said, these ordinary men, they recognize them as associates, as disciples of Jesus. Wouldn't it be nice if we were recognized by our behavior, by our sharing what happened to us and what we see in faith with those around us? And that's what the apostles say. That's their response to when they're brought back in and they're told, just don't mention this man's name anymore. Stop talking about this man. And the apostles, stupid men as they are, as so many of us Christians are, we believe in God and we believe in all the things he tells us. We're stupid. We don't make any sense to the world. So this is what they tell the high priests and the religious authorities of their day. They say, now, whether we should obey you or obey God, you decide. You high priests who know it, you should decide whether we should obey God or you. But as for telling people what we've seen and what we have heard, we cannot stop talking about it. The truth will always out when you have found Jesus and he is work miracles in your life, you can't keep quiet. There was an atheist who was telling a Christian, he said, if you really believed in your Christianity, you have to convert me, or at least try. And if you don't, it's because you really don't believe. What we have seen, what we have heard, we cannot stop telling others about it. Have we stopped telling others about what we've seen, what we heard? Because our religion isn't essential to the world. Is it essential to you? If your religion is essential to you, there'd be a lot more people walking around in our day and time, weeping, grief-stricken, because we no longer can receive Jesus. We know where he is. He's locked behind the doors of the closed churches, the tomb we've built for ourselves. By giving up our right to practice our religion, we allowed Jesus to be tombed up in our closed churches, and we're not weeping, and we're not crazy in mourning because we cannot receive the Lord. Wouldn't it be nice not to put your hands around his feet, but to have him in your heart and soul, his body, his humanity and divinity within you, closer in that sense than Mary, you who received Jesus, soul and body, divinity and humanity into your soul and body. No wonder we don't convert anybody, because Jesus is not essential in our life. Jesus doesn't mean our life. When he becomes our life and the reason we live, the world will become followers and recognized as disciples of Jesus.